This video is going to go over the most commonly used features of Vision and the options that are on the home screen. So on the screen currently you can see thumbnails for each of the student computers. These are updated approximately every 3 seconds with what's going on the screen so the teacher can get an idea of what they're doing. You can multi-select the thumbnails by drag and dropping, lassoing, or holding the Shift or Control keys to manually select individual students. The first feature that we're going to go over is the demo feature. What this does is, in as real-time a fashion as possible, it sends out what's going on in the teacher station to the student station so they can see it in real time. By default, this is launched in full screen mode, which will actually block keyboard and mouse input on the students and take over their entire screen. You can click on the drop-down option and you'll be able to see full screen, which is the default, windowed, which does the same thing but in a window, and then the students can follow along. It's particularly nice if they have multiple monitors because they can have one monitor watching what you're doing, one monitor not. And then alternatively, you can launch a minimized demo, at which point they'll see the demo in the taskbar, but it won't be forced on them, so they can just click on it if they want to watch and follow along with what's going on in the teacher station. Next, we're going to show the Showcase Student option, which allows you to basically do the same thing from a student station. So it allows them to broadcast out what's ever going on in the student station to the rest of the students and the teacher. This allows them to do like a miniature presentation of their work, or maybe if the teacher's aware that they're having a particular issue and they want to be able to demonstrate it to the rest of the class, they can do that. Once you're inside the demo, the teacher still controls the demo, so when they stop that there, it's stopped on every machine. The next feature we're going to go over is Pointer, which is a set of on-screen annotation tools you can use to do things like circling a portion of the screen you want to draw your students' attention to. You can do things like transparent fill-ins and a number of other functions, and then when you're done you can just remove them with the Erase All button. And the nice thing about this is it enables you to do things that you might do inside an annotation tool in PowerPoint or the like without actually modifying the file, and then you're able to do it on the fly, so that maybe if you're doing a demo you can draw attention to particular portions of the screen, and then when you're all done you just close it. Next, we're going to go over the Show Document feature. And what this does is basically is intended to replace handouts. So you're able to select Show Document, then navigate to a document, and it's going to open that document on each student computer so that they can then modify it, save it, print it, etc. The next feature we're going to discuss is the Run Application option, which basically gives you access to a run prompt from Windows. One of the more useful things you can do in here is you can set up and send a URL to students, at which point it's going to open that in their default web browser, as you'll see in a second. If they have a browser open already, it's actually going to open that a new tab so it doesn't interrupt whatever the student's currently doing. So this is a way, instead of using shortcuts like bit.ly shortcuts or a web document, to get your students to go to a specific page. Next, we're going to go into Manage Applications, which allows you to set up applications that Vision can control. It's going to build a list based on whatever's in your Start menu, and basically any application you want to control needs to be installed in the same location on the teacher and student station. Once you've added them to the application list, you can also modify their properties, and that allows you to, if you need any command line switches or the like, you can put them in there. Then once you hit OK, it'll be added to the Start Application options, at which point there's two different ways that you can launch a managed application in Vision. So the first one is standard mode, so it'll just open the application normally, and then you also have the option to open it in something called kiosk mode. Kiosk mode allows you to open it in a way that it hides all the other applications running on the student station, so that they're only able to use the application that you put them in. So as you'll notice on the screen, it has opened the document full screen. I cannot close it. It has also hidden the Start menu and replaced it with an App Control Start menu, and then disabled all the icons in the taskbar near the clock. Until you release them, they'll only be able to use this piece of software, and they cannot close it. The next feature is Stop All Applications. So what this does is it force closes all the applications on a student device. So you don't really want to do that unless you're actually planning on it. as otherwise you can force the student to close their work without being able to save it, etc. The next feature is blank screen, which I'm going to click on here in a sec. What this does is it puts up a screen on the student stations telling them that you can't do anything on the machine except pay attention to the teacher. So people use this at like the beginning of class when they're going through and showing people what they're supposed to do for the day. Or if they're in the middle of an assignment and someone asks a question, you want to have the whole class hear the answer, you can, blank their screen. They cannot use keyboard or mouse on the machine, and they can't use it, and this forces them to pay attention to the teacher. The next feature we have is the block input button, which does basically the same thing the blank screen does, except it only locks keyboard and mouse access. So if perhaps you see a computer doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, or maybe they're on a page they're not supposed to be on, you want to talk to them about it, you don't want them to close it when they see you walking up, you can lock their input so that you can go speak with them. The next feature we're going to go over is our web filtering options. So the first option is to lock the web, which makes the little padlock icon appear in the icons on the student station so you know they're locked. Basically, this blocks FTP, HTTPS, and HTTP traffic on all web browsers, whether we support them or not officially. And then you're going to see when you go to a page that you're not supposed to be on, that it'll just say that the internet is blocked. The next thing we have is the ability to create filters that allow you to either create a resource list, which is basically kind of like a whitelist. You're able to go to only the pages that you allow, or a block list, which specifically blocks specific pages. So you're able to go anywhere on the internet except those pages. So one thing you're going to want to be aware of with the web filtering is the more specific you are with the allow list, the more specific the restrictions are on there, or same with the resource list. So you can say, for example, allow www.nationalgeographic.com, but then if they go to the subsite news.nationalgeographic.com, it's not going to allow it. And that can be as restrictive as you're only allowing one specific page on the thing, or you allow the entire domain. So now I'm going to go ahead and create a resource list. And so the list is basically kind of like what the student sees as a category, and then the shortcuts are actually what are the URLs that you're allowing. So some people get a little confused and actually put the URL in as the actual filter name. Also, something you might want to note is, generally speaking, you're going to want to have both HTTP and HTTPS for a lot of sites now, because even though the user will go to HTTP, it often redirects to HTTPS. Another thing that's kind of critical about the way that we do our filtering is we actually build a list and show you the pages you can go to, instead of simply restricting you and not giving you any information about what you're allowed to do. We have clickable links in our software that allow you to actually, use this as a guiding tool, as opposed to a purely restrictive thing. So you build the list, and that's what the student sees when they open the browser and go to a page that's not the filter. The next feature I'm going to show you is the live view feature. I've used it off and on throughout the demo to show you kind of a full screen view of what the student's doing. From this screen, you're able to start things like remote control, or to do a showcase student, and then you're also able to take a screenshot to add to a screenshot gallery. So, for example, if you see a student who's off task, you're able to get a screenshot of what they're doing. Next, I'm going to go ahead and open the remote control window. This screen allows you to do a number of different functions. So basically, it's as if you're sitting in front of the student station. So unlike other remote control software, you don't have to remember special shortcuts for like Control-Alt-Delete to log in. Once you've clicked inside the window, it actually treats it literally as if you're sitting in front of the station. You also are able to start a demo while you're remote controlling a student. So again, if you see a student who's doing something maybe they shouldn't be, you can start a demo there, and then in full screen windowed or minimize mode just like normal. You can also access the pointer on-screen annotation tools when you're in there, and take screenshots and copy to and from the clipboard in case you want to get information to the student. So the next thing I'm going to show you is selection groups. A lot of teachers think that these will work like creating sub-classrooms where you can only see certain devices and have things affect them. That's actually not the way that this is designed. Basically, this lets you select users and then set up a group so you can automatically select them again later without having to individually click on them. So on a fairly large class size, maybe you have, say 40 computers in a classroom. Some of them are kind of way in the back of the room. That allows you to maybe put the blank screen up on the back row of computers if you know that you aren't going to have enough students to fill the class, and you want them to sit a little closer, which is shown to improve retention in numerous studies. And the last link on this page is just basically a shortcut to Learning Center. It'll open that in their default browser when they click on it.